Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me and Professional Academy today. Really appreciate it. So this is the first in a series of 6 live webinars, if you like. If you've got any questions, we're not going to take them throughout because I kind of want this to be seamless because it's the first one. But what we're going to do is, if you've got any questions about what we're talking about today, which is the PESTLE model, then leave a comment and we will reply and we'll chat to you in the Q&A after this live event, which will be cool. Look forward to speaking to you all. So first of all, a bit of an intro into this whole series. What's it all about? Well, what we're going to cover is some of the fundamental models and theories within marketing, because they can be lost. They're hugely important, regardless of if you're taking a professional qualification, an apprenticeship, or even just during your work. They're hugely important. And that's kind of the good and the bad all-round marketers and what makes the difference. Good marketers, all-round marketers, use models and theories and concepts to structure their work, to give background information to their communication, their strategy, their objectives, their tactics, and all that kind of stuff, which we'll come on to later on in the series. But what we're going to do is we're going to start off with an analytical model, something that's external, outside the business, something that we really need to focus on, hugely important. And what we'll do, we'll build up through the series and we'll finish on communications, which I know you all love, and a lot of bad marketers usually start with that. It's not the best thing to do, believe me. And hopefully you'll agree with me when we go through this series. Again, we'll take questions at the end, but please use the Q&A function. Ask your questions and we'll get back to you, because we really want to add value to you, the marketer, the people that are listening, the reason that myself and Professional Academy do what we do. So before we go into today's model, which is the PESTLE model, and how we apply it and why it's important, I want to introduce myself, but more importantly, Professional Academy, that's given myself and you this wonderful platform to learn, grow and develop. So I'm going to read this line for line because I don't want to get it wrong. So Professional Academy are a strategic partner of the CIM and a globally recognised provider of marketing training and qualifications, and also marketing apprenticeships. Check them out. It's an amazing company and they do some fantastic work with some amazing tutors. Love to give you all a shout out, but there's too many to mention. Anyway, on to me. My name's Peter Sumpton. I'm the Lego Master of Marketing. I cover everything from professional qualifications through apprenticeships to consultancy work within marketing. I just love helping people with their marketing problems, find those solutions. I've been a tutor for around about 10 years and I've had the pleasure of working with Professional Academy for all those years. I currently assist them with their apprenticeship program and CIM qualifications, which is wonderful, amazing. Again, check them out. Anyway, that's enough for the sell of Professional Academy and me. Let's get on to this analysis, this PESTLE analysis, and what the hell it is all about. So as you can see on the screen, it's categorized into 7 different elements. Each part is a different element of the external environment. And what PESTLE allows us to do is it gives us an all-round view of what is happening outside of our organisation. And what we're going to do today is look at each section individually, bit by bit, to provide you with information to know and understand how you apply each bit, and know and understand why it's important and the elements that you need to be looking out for in each of these sections. So let's look at the very first one, the political. So this is an element that people struggle with a fair bit. Politics, and don't really want to go there, and I don't want to go on there on this webinar. So let's keep it top level, shall we? So what we want to do in political is look at how and to what degree the government intervenes in our economy from a business perspective, from our own business's perspective. And this could be things like government policy, political stability and instability, particularly on a global scale. Don't need to say much more about that, do I? Things like taxes, funds, grants, and initiatives, hugely important, especially right now with what's going on in the world. In doing our review and assessing each of these elements, it gives us a good understanding as to what political factors impact our business, our day-to-day running, our yearly running. It's hugely important. Now, the second element is the first E of 3 E's in this model. The final E was added later, but that would be too easy to just have 2. Sorry, final dad joke, I promise. So the first E is economic. Again, big word, whoa, numbers, figures. Don't panic, it's absolutely fine. What we need to look at here is the significance of each economic element and the impact it will have on how our organisation does business profitably. Key word there, profitably. Now, what we need to look at here are certain market trends within our own industry. It could be growth sectors. Is there a sector that we could move into that is a lot more profitable than what we are doing right now? Could be a niche, could be a mass market, it could be something digital, which we'll come on to later. Look at exchange rates, particularly for international businesses, how that will massively affect your bottom line if exchange rates change. Seasonal factors, particularly for those businesses that are quite cyclical and depend on weather, for example, cold, hot, warm, windy, rainy, whatever takes your preference. Wages, disposable income, which links to social, which is our third element here. Now, it's important to point out right now that I said disposable income for economic factor, an economic factor, which is true. That could link to social as well. It could be in the social element of this model. What I want to get across is the fact that all these models, yes, we need to apply them correctly, but it's your own interpretation of these models. It's how you interpret it. As long as you're getting value out of these models, utilize them to the best of your ability. Anyway, off the soapbox, back onto social, or what we can class as socio-cultural factors, the shared beliefs and attitudes of the population of your target market at different segments within your industry. So let's start really broad here first. We're talking about things like population growth, maybe an aging population, a young, up and coming segment of a market, the shared beliefs, and let's get detailed here, the attitudes of a population, the trends, the fads that's currently happening. And there's a lot going on out there right now. And we need to link this to our strategic direction, to our tactics, so we can help solve our target market's problems. That's what we're here to do as a business. So the fourth one, and this leads us nicely onto this fourth one, seamless this, isn't it? Which is technology. The ever-changing world of technology, more prevalent in marketing probably than any other department within your business. It's critical that we understand these changes, we utilize them to the best of our ability, whether it's hardware, software, the resources we have, how much that will cost us, what's going to be the latest trends, the up and coming trends in 2021. We need to factor these in, particularly when we're looking at a marketing plan or a strategy that lasts 1, 3, or even 5 years. Hugely important. Who knows what we'll be using in 5 years? My guess is it probably won't be TikTok. Anyway, what other elements can we think of here when we talk about technology? Because it's not just the tools that we can utilize, it's how we communicate, maybe even infrastructure within our business. How is that going to help us be more seamless, reduce the friction we have within our company? Because everyone hates friction, right? Think of the emerging tech that can help internally as well as externally. Which leads us back on to an external environmental factor. This is the 5th part of our PESTLE model. We're getting there. We're getting towards the 7th one. So environment. Think about the impact the business has on the planet. More prevalent in manufacturing than anything. But what changes do we have to allow to maybe link to a policy or a legislation, which again we'll come on to a little bit later. See how all these are interlinked? It's things like raw materials. Who's in control? Porter's Five Forces says that do the suppliers have more bargaining power or do the buyers have more bargaining power? And which one are you? Are you a supplier or a buyer? Things like pollution, sustainability, climate and weather, they all play a certain factor. And you'll see why weather plays a factor and why we need to understand these things a little bit later on when we look at a few examples. Number 6 is legal. Again, we're back onto these big words now. We shouldn't be afraid of them. This is the legalities of business, and it's vast. What we need to do is understand the legalities from a generalistic point of view, but also those legalities within our own industry or our own department or our own division. Hugely important. Think about the legislation and the legal factors within health and safety, products, services, communications, competitors, things like that. GDPR, we all remember the stuff, let's call it, that went on with GDPR. Hugely important within marketing. Knowing these things are coming up is what PESTELE allows us to do. Focus on these elements, turn negatives into positives, weaknesses into strengths. There's another tenuous link onto another session that's coming up on the SWOT analysis. Stay tuned. Okay, on to the 7th of 7, which is ethical. Kind of new to the whole PESTELE model, this one. And it's a bit of a mishmash of environmental and social. So we can class this as corporate social responsibility and the elements that are geared around doing the right thing. And going back to, I think it was 1994, when John Elkington introduced the triple bottom line, people, planet, and profit, and stating that each one of those should be on the balance sheet because each one has a detrimental effect to how well and successful your business does. And he's right and correct, we should be doing that. The local community, they might not have a direct impact into the monetary bottom line, but you can be damn sure that a lot of people in that local community work for your company or have an impact on what's going on in the company or around the company. Things like sustainability, we've mentioned that before in environmental, but what is the company actually doing? Do they care about it? Because they should do. Think about environmental considerations, pollution, for example. Again, going back to manufacturing or any type of business, you have waste. What do you do with that? Is it ethical? Those are the elements we need to consider. Again, it's all interlinked. Ethical links with legal, which links with political, which links with economical. And in a rounded way, that's why this is hugely important, because we make these links. And that's the PESTELE model. That's fantastic. All well and good. What we've done there is link the political, the economic, the social, the technological, the environmental, the legal, the ethical, all together in one go. We've noted what each element does, why it's important, but the key, the absolute key here is to evaluate why and the effect it has on our business specifically. If we're not doing that, fundamentally, we've just done an analysis of our environment and nothing else. It's this evaluation that makes PESTELE so powerful. We need to continually evaluate this environment, which seems like a lot of work, and yeah, it is a lot of work, but there's automation tools and techniques that we can utilize to help us with this continual evaluation. Now, we could use the simplistic things like Google alerts and notifications, RSS feeds, things like that factor all these elements in for your industry and wider. But we can go more detailed than that. Internal systems such as CRM systems, those elements can provide information into your customers' social behavioral trends, which are hugely important. So just to reiterate why PESTELE is so important in the grand scheme of things, it's because it helps us understand what is going on outside of our business, the factors that are outside of our business that we cannot control. But these factors have a huge impact on the success of our business going forward. And that is why PESTELE should be one of your #1 fundamental marketing theory models to utilize at the start of any type of plan. Any type of plan, any type of analysis, you use it. It's first and foremost for me personally. It gives you a good grounding and a good basis. And just give you a few examples of this. Let's take the current pandemic. We can't ignore it. Let's take during or even after. If you're watching this after, it's still as important. So take social, for example. Look at what companies now offer, or many companies now offer internally. Remote working, working from home, the facilities to do that. How that changes social impact. Deliveries from companies that didn't used to do delivering. Previously, these factors weren't even considered, but now something that we cannot control has been brought into our lives. So we have to move with these times, and using the PESTLE analysis can help us do that. Look at locally, and there's an actual beauty salon just around the corner from where I live. Not really for me, as you can see, cuticles need a bit of work, but they've been delivering manicure sets and makeup sets for people that physically can't enter their store for a long period of time. It keeps them in business, it keeps them in contact with their loyal customers, and probably increases the lifetime customer value of those people they're impacting. Nationally, events companies have completely had to pivot their remote events, even ceremonies I've seen online, using software technology such as Zoom and Microsoft Teams, which we're communicating on today. Away from the pandemic, take environmental factors. I mentioned weather before. Okay, weather, fantastic, dreary outside, but what about the long-term weather reports that we have? Take theme parks, for example. They can make good predictions on what the weather will be like in a week's time, a month's time. And this will help them know and understand how many people will be coming through their gate on a particular day, which helps them work out the number of employees they will need, the number of staff on a particular gate, on a particular ride, for example. Hugely important in the grand scheme of things, massively beneficial. And that is why it's so important. So finally, to review this whole darn thing and why it's important, because I can't reiterate that enough, it helps us continually monitor our external environment. And that is extremely important, because it highlights those factors that we cannot control, but has a huge impact on our business, the way we do business, who we do business with, why we do business. And finally, if we're not doing this, if we're not utilizing this model, we're essentially trying to steer a ship without a compass. For some reason, I've got Christopher Columbus in my mind when I say that. That's by the by, side note. But anyway, it's hugely important because you don't know what those seas hold. You don't know what's going to happen. But we can use PESTLE to monitor what is going on externally. So finally, just to close, thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it, and I know everybody at Professional Academy appreciates it. I hope you've got some value from this. And as you can see from the screen right now, the next session will be the same time, same place next week, 10th of June, 12:30 British Standard Time. And what we'll be looking at is another fundamental in the marketing theory arsenal, which is the SWOT analysis. We'll look at strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, what they actually mean, and why we need to be utilizing it alongside PESTLE. If this has caught your interest, as we go along, this whole series can be found on the Professional Academy website, along with a whole host of valuable tools, not to mention the blog and information on these tools and others. So the final thing I'll say today is utilize PESTLE. Join us next week, 12:30 British Standard Time, 10th of June, and happy marketing.